The royal family just shocked everyone with a bombshell about King Charles's health crisis that had been kept secret for months. At exactly 6 p.m., William and Kate stepped in, not just updating the public, but launching the Diana Initiative. Camilla's glaring absence sparked whispers of her being sidelined as Diana's legacy was revived. So what actually happened was the royal family going to do what they always do: wave politely, smile awkwardly, cut ribbons at some charity event, and then disappear back behind those 300-year-old palace walls. Nothing shocking, nothing unpredictable. But then, out of nowhere, the royal press secretary shows up looking like he just walked out of a horror movie. Pale face, trembling hands, voice cracking, and instead of the usual boring palace update, he drops a bombshell. King Charles, the guy who finally got the crown after waiting longer than most people wait for their Amazon delivery, is in a critical health crisis. And here's the kicker. It had been concealed for months. Months! Can you even imagine? The royals usually leak tea to their favorite journalists weeks in advance about what hat Camilla is wearing, but suddenly, the king's health just shows up as breaking news. Now normally, the palace likes everything rehearsed. They usually send subtle hints to the press, those carefully placed little whispers to friendly reporters who act like royal cheerleaders. This time, nothing. Zilch. Dead silence until the very second they wanted to announce it. No leaks, no rumors, not even a cheeky Daily Mail exclusive. Which makes it even more suspicious, because if the royal press office doesn't let things slip, that means something seismic is happening behind the curtain. And sure enough, at exactly 6 o'clock on the dot, because of course these people love dramatic timing, every TV across the country lights up. But guess what? It's not Charles making this historic announcement. It's not even Camilla. Nope. It's William and Kate, sitting there looking like they're already measuring Buckingham Palace curtains. Think about how insane that is for a second. The king's health is the story, right? But the people making the announcement aren't the king or queen consort. They're the heirs. It's like going to a concert and finding out the opening act just took the mic away from the headliner. Everyone expected Charles to reassure the country, but instead, his son and daughter-in-law show up, polished, calm, ready to roll. And they didn't just talk about the king's condition. Oh no. Their words hinted at something way bigger. This wasn't just about illness. It was about power, about shifting influence, about planting the flag that said, "We're not waiting around anymore." That's the moment royal watchers, even the most seasoned ones, knew the ground under the monarchy was moving. But while William and Kate were front and center, you know who was missing? Camilla, the queen consort. The woman who literally had the spotlight at the coronation in 2023, sitting there with the crown on her head. Not a word, not a cameo, not even a shout-out in the press statement. It was like she had been erased from the script. And in royal optics, where who stands where and who waves when is practically a military operation, her absence screamed louder than any words. So naturally, the theories started flying. Was she hiding out in Ray Mill House? You know, that cozy countryside escape she's had since her 1994 divorce, the one she swears is her sanctuary? Or was she deliberately cut out of the strategy? Because insiders were whispering that Camilla had opposed William and Kate's pet project, the so-called Diana Initiative. And in this family, saying no to Diana's legacy is basically like saying no to oxygen. If you reject that, you're toast. So maybe her absence wasn't a coincidence. Maybe it was punishment. Maybe William and Kate finally decided to draw a very firm line in the sand. And let's be honest, for Camilla, this was a nightmare scenario. She spent years, literal decades, rehabilitating her image. She went from the other woman in Diana's story to the queen consort of the United Kingdom. That arc alone is exhausting. And yet, in one carefully staged announcement, she's back to being the outsider, the ghost in the palace halls, while William and Kate look like the future. For someone who clawed her way into acceptance, being completely left out at the most important moment since the coronation must have been brutal. Now here's where it gets even juicier. Because while Charles is fading into the background and Camilla is conveniently invisible, William and Kate step forward with something that feels less like duty and more like a political campaign launch. They don't just update the public about the king's health, they roll out a full-blown initiative. Oh yes, the Diana Initiative. And let's just say, the timing was no accident. So what is the Diana Initiative? It's not just another charity with a royal logo slapped on it. William and Kate packaged it as a global nonprofit rooted in Diana's values: compassion, honesty, and people-first leadership. Sounds sweet, right? But look closer, and you'll see the strategy. Because this wasn't about laying flowers outside Kensington Palace once a year in August. This was about weaponizing Diana's memory, taking everything she represented: her hugs in AIDS wards, her rebellion against stiff protocol, her bond with regular people, and using it to redraw the monarchy's future. Kate even tied it back to Diana's AIDS work in the 1980s at Middlesex Hospital. That visit, by the way, was legendary. Back then, the stigma around HIV/AIDS was so high that even politicians avoided the topic. Diana shook hands with patients without gloves, and suddenly the entire world saw compassion instead of fear. That's the spirit Kate and William claimed to be reviving, except now it came with hashtags, global media strategy, and sleek nonprofit branding. And if you think this was just coincidence, Palace insiders were quick to leak that William himself insisted on pushing the project through, and Kate personally drafted major chunks of the announcement speech. This wasn't charity, this was chess. And the public? Oh, they ate it up like free cake at a wedding. Within hours, social media went wild. Hashtags like Diana's legacy and People's Royals were trending across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Donations poured into related charities, volunteer sign-ups spiked, and the kind of praise the royal family hasn't seen in years suddenly belonged to William and Kate. Even more symbolic, corridors of royal buildings that had long since scrubbed Diana's image began hanging her portraits again. You couldn't script a more brutal reminder that Diana still looms larger than anyone in that family, and William and Kate know exactly how to harness it. And here's the sarcasm for you. The royal family, the same institution that once tried to bury Diana's memory under mountains of PR spin and stiff upper lips, is now literally surviving by resurrecting her name. It's almost comical. The woman they pushed aside is now the brand they need to stay relevant. Camilla must be thrilled. So in one night, here's what went down. The king's health crisis is revealed after months of secrecy. William and Kate hijack the announcement. Camilla disappears like a bad plotline cut from a TV show, and the Diana Initiative drops like a bomb, turning William and Kate into the heirs not just to the throne, but to Diana's unstoppable legacy. It wasn't just a press release, it was a power shift broadcast live at 6 o'clock sharp. Now let's talk about what went down inside the palace walls, because that's where the cracks really started showing. King Charles, who spent his entire life waiting for the crown, finally gets it, and guess what he says behind closed doors? Not, "I'm proud," or "the monarchy is in safe hands." Nope. He reportedly admitted, "The spotlight is gone." Not anger, not rage, just sadness. Imagine dedicating decades to preparing for this one role, only for your son to swoop in and make you look like yesterday's news. It's like training your whole life to run a marathon, finally reaching the finish line, and then your kid shows up on a scooter and crosses it first while everyone cheers. Brutal. And then there's Camilla, never one to fade quietly. She tried, oh, she really tried, to reassert her influence. But the problem is, every time she pushed back against William and Kate's shiny Diana Initiative, it just made her look more out of touch. Instead of reclaiming space, she pushed herself further into isolation. The public wasn't buying it, and the palace wasn't backing her. The harder she tried to keep her seat at the table, the clearer it became that nobody wanted her sitting there anymore. Now picture the scene at Clarence House. Charles, frustrated, summons William. He probably thinks he's going to lecture his son into line, the way royals have done for centuries. He accuses him of breaching protocol, because of course for Charles it's always about protocol. The monarchy runs on rules, traditions, and stiff upper lips, right? But William wasn't having it. His reply? This isn't about protocol, it's about survival. And right there, you can feel the generational rift. Charles is clinging to dusty rule books. William's looking at survival mode in 2024, where hashtags and public trust mean more than centuries-old ceremonies. And honestly, he's not wrong. The proof came fast. International leaders, the ones who usually bow to the monarch, started skipping Charles and requesting private meetings with William instead. Canada, Australia, and beyond. It's like when you have a company and the CEO is technically still in charge, but everyone knows the vice president is the one actually running things. Embarrassing for Charles, but crystal clear to the rest of the world, the balance of power had officially shifted. But the drama didn't stop there. Oh no, because once you bring Harry into the mix, the whole pot boils over. At first, Prince Harry was supportive of the Diana initiative. He even called it Mum's Legacy in Action, which was a sweet, heartfelt way of saying he believed in what William and Kate were doing. It should have been a unifying moment. Finally, the brothers on the same side. But this is Harry and William we're talking about, so of course it didn't last. William, ever suspicious, accused Harry of using the initiative just to stay relevant. Ouch. That cut deep. And then Harry fired back with an interview line that made headlines, "Diana's work belongs to everyone, not just the palace. Stop gatekeeping Mum's legacy." The public reaction was split right down the middle. Half of people praised Harry for being genuine, emotional, and true to Diana's spirit. The other half rolled their eyes and said he was stirring the pot again, dragging up old wounds instead of letting things move forward. Social media loved it though. Memes popped up with side-by-side quotes from the brothers captioned, "Same mom, different fight." The internet never misses a chance to turn family trauma into entertainment. And speaking of trauma, Meghan's story crept back into the spotlight too. Remember the infamous bridesmaid dress clash between her and Kate? That little spat got reframed as the very beginning of Meghan's slow erasure from the family. Insiders started pointing to that fight as the domino that tipped the whole setup. Meghan gets painted as emotional, Kate stays calm, and guess who the public sides with? Exactly. From there, Meghan's role shrank until eventually she and Harry walked out completely. Looking back, it's almost like that tiny argument over a child's dress was the first chapter in Meghan's eventual exile. One fight, and the script for her royal exit was practically written. And just when you think the family drama couldn't get messier, Princess Anne stepped in. She's the one royal who never plays games, the no-nonsense workhorse with a record of over 300 charities and thousands of engagements. She doesn't do drama, but when she does, it's serious. Reports say Anne clashed with Camilla over charity restructuring of all things, and it wasn't just a mild disagreement. The whispers were that it escalated so much it fueled rumors of legal action within the family. Legal action. Can you imagine the monarchy dragging itself into court over internal fights? That's not just cracks in the palace, that's a full-on earthquake. The crown's future stopped being hypothetical at this point. In the eyes of the public, William and Kate weren't just heirs. They were already acting monarchs, already embodying what the institution would become. And at the center of it all was Diana's enduring shadow. Her memory wasn't just alive, it was fueling the entire shift. William and Kate had taken what once was a ghost haunting the monarchy and turned it into their biggest weapon. And that's the chaos shaking Buckingham Palace right now. Charles fading, Camilla sidelined, and William and Kate rewriting the monarchy in Diana's shadow. But what do you actually think? Is this the crown's rebirth or its final unraveling? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal bombshells.